Hi, and welcome to this presentation. My name's Tim Austin, and I'm one of the directors of the Papua New Guinea Visual Learning Centre. The other director is Maini Winnie. I'll talk a little bit about both of our backgrounds a bit further into the presentation. This presentation introduces the Visual Learning Centre concept and discusses how visual learning can make an impact on some of the issues facing Papua New Guinea at the moment. There are a number of topics I'll cover as we move through the presentation. Firstly, I'll discuss the opportunities for visual learning based on the specific needs of Papua New Guinea community. Then I'll put forward a plan to address what needs to happen and highlight the community advocates who are critical to achieving community aspirations for Papua New Guinea. After discussing the needs and opportunities, I'll take you through a quick tour of the online Visual Learning Centre. This will give you an idea of the level of support provided and the resources and training available to our members. I'll then discuss the stages we're putting in place to move the project forward and the measurable results and benefits we're aiming to achieve. In conclusion, I'll tell you a bit about Maini and myself and the dedicated team we have in place to implement our strategy for visual learning in Papua New Guinea. I don't want to focus too much on the negative statistics coming out of PNG. We're all too aware of what these are. However, it's necessary to highlight some of the obvious needs of the community, as this determines where we'll concentrate our efforts. Firstly, there's the opportunity to impact on the health situation in PNG. As a team, we're heavily focused on the fact that many members of the PNG community can take preventative measures to reduce the risk of illness and accidents. To do this, the Visual Learning Centre uses visual techniques to educate community members of all literacy levels and languages. This has a greater reach and will lead to better health outcomes. There's also the opportunity to engage a wider cross-section of the community in education. Currently, the literacy rate in PNG is around 60%. Visual learning can assist in supporting those with lower literacy levels by providing confidence, accessibility and inspiration to pursue higher levels of awareness, knowledge and education. Another key area of focus for us is in community consultation. With the most linguistically diverse population in the world, government workers and professionals should be supported with visual learning techniques to communicate both within organisations and to distribute key messages to the broader community. And of course, there's the need to encourage higher levels of engagement in business. The Visual Learning Centre uses visual models to show how key business processes work. This allows people to visually map out business strategy and create enterprises, even if their literacy levels are really low. We believe we can make an impact in these crucial areas using visual learning techniques. Within each of these 4 areas are people that are critical to moving Papua New Guinea forward as a nation. These people want to have a positive impact on their community, and our aim is to support their aspirations and enhance their career by training them to use visual learning as part of their professional practice. The objective is to empower these individuals with the knowledge, skills and tools to actively communicate with community members more effectively and in less time. These people will become visual learning advocates and will be at the forefront of community consultation and education. They'll inspire the wider community and lead the way in shaping a strong and positive future for Papua New Guinea. The Visual Learning Centre will provide visual content relevant to the needs of the professionals and their communities. Additionally, global resources will be assessed and incorporated into the Visual Learning Centre, so there's a library of material freely available to all our members. Visual resources will be beneficial for enhancing communication, but this alone won't make a significant impact in PNG. Our primary objective is to enhance the skills of the professionals so that they can evaluate and produce visual resources relevant to the needs of their own local communities. It's staggering how much visual information and training material is available freely on the internet. This ever-increasing pool of knowledge has opened up opportunities to learn and communicate that has never been seen before. By introducing evaluation processes, we'll allow professionals to quickly and efficiently gather relevant, high-quality resources specifically addressing the needs of Papua New Guinea. Most importantly, we provide training and processes for professionals to create their own visual communication material. This can be as simple as using a pen and paper to produce a visual sequence, or taking a sequence of photos that communicate a message. Everyone has the capacity to create great visual resources, irrespective of their artistic ability. Harnessing this ability will transform the way professionals communicate with the wider community. In addition to evaluation and basic design skills, we provide techniques on delivering visual material to individuals and groups within a community. When presenting information, there's no more effective method than combining verbal and visual communication to deliver a message. We train professionals to use visuals in combination with voice to dramatically enhance comprehension. This may be used for one-on-one consultation or presentation to a group of people. We also provide techniques for using every available form of information distribution to visually communicate with all members of the community, irrespective of language or literacy levels. Visual learning in PNG is more than just providing visual resources for distribution throughout the community. Our main focus is to impart the skills and techniques that empower our members to produce and deliver information far more effectively. Ultimately, these skills and techniques will allow members to localise content, have autonomy over information, which naturally leads to complete control of the communication process. This autonomy and control allows locals to maintain and strengthen their own cultural values and identity. Now that I've shown how visual learning can be implemented, I'd like to spend a bit of time discussing how a Visual Learning Centre will be embedded into communities. The Visual Learning Centre will reflect local and global information in a visual format. The Visual Learning Centre may be a new facility, or it may be embedded in an existing facility such as a school, clinic, church, or a government department. The visual learning advocates will be trained in the use of different media presentation tools so they can present the visual learning content in a manner that best suits their particular circumstance. Of course, many remote community members can't make it into a central facility on a regular basis. We train our members on how to plan a communication strategy suited to their local community infrastructure and demographic. They're then able to distribute information through the predetermined channels. This can be particularly useful for issues such as disaster response. Okay, now I've shown you our plan, I'm going to break from the presentation for a moment and give you a short tour of the online Visual Learning Centre. This is the virtual resource used to train and support our members. The Visual Learning Centre has an online facility that provides visual resources, training and support for our members. Within the site, they can access information on what the Visual Learning Centre is and how it's there to support them. Our main areas of focus have priority on the site with education, health, organisational communication and business represented in different sections. I'll briefly show you what's available for members in these sections. In the education section, the members have an induction into the program through the overview and outcomes. They also have visual resources that they can start using straight away in their local learning environment. The site provides an educational program specifically for training educators in the principles of visual learning and how they can use and produce visual resources to enhance the learning experience for their students. For each learning program, we have both facilitated and e-learning delivery. For the facilitated programs, our lectures are available in editable PowerPoint format. This allows customization and localization of the visual resources so it's appropriate across all communities. E-learning lectures are also available on the site. All lectures are delivered using video and graphics in our e-learning format. This provides a totally visual learning experience for our members. The health section is presented in the same format. There's a learning program that imparts knowledge on how to use visual resources and visual techniques to communicate more effectively with patients or community groups. In the resource section, there are visual resources that health professionals can use to enhance communication with patients. These resources can be downloaded from the site, or a request can be made to send the resource via DVD or USB. These resources are particularly useful for explaining health-related issues on a screen device such as a computer or tablet in the local environment. The same format is used to support anyone needing to communicate and consult with the wider community. This can be any employee from a government department or an NGO, for example. We take them through training on how to enhance their communication objectives using visual techniques. Finally, we have a program that imparts knowledge on how to visually plan and run a business. These skills are particularly useful for encouraging community members to produce innovative ideas based on opportunities within local communities. In addition to specific learning programs, we have a video centre that provides a library of short videos that are useful for a heap of different purposes. We also have a library of interactive resources that provide customised visual learning courses on specific subjects. The Online Visual Learning Centre is an ever-expanding resource designed to support our members with engaging training programs and visual resources relevant to their local needs. Now that we've had a quick tour of the Visual Learning Centre, I'll continue with the presentation. As you've just seen, we've established a base of resources, learning programs and systems to support the Visual Learning Centre in Papua New Guinea. To move forward, we need to focus on community aspirations and plan the steps required to achieve these aspirations. The first stage of implementation is to gather country-specific data and create a localisation strategy for PNG. As I've mentioned, visual learning will only work if locals have control and autonomy over communication, so the localisation strategy is a crucial starting point. Implementation of the localisation strategy has three main stages. We'll start with forming a local advisory group made up of different professionals. Then, based on input from the advisory group, we'll start producing localised content. The final stage will be implementing a localised communication strategy for information and resource dissemination. Training is divided between facilitated sessions and online training. There'll be an emphasis on facilitation in the short term. This will be surpassed by online training as the project matures. V-Learning staff will initiate and coordinate all training activities. Over time, this role will transition to local staff. Emerging technologies will create endless opportunities for visual learning in Papua New Guinea. The Visual Learning Centre will continue to research emerging technologies and produce content based on world's best practice. In order to achieve community aspirations and benefit from implementing a visual learning strategy, we need to take a look at where PNG has come from and where PNG is going. Prior to colonisation, Papua New Guinea used predominantly visual and oral communication. This is a process that served communities well, particularly with the diversity of cultures and language. Colonisation brought with it an emphasis on text-based literacy. In many ways this has been practical and useful. Unfortunately, it's also exclusionary for those without a reasonable level of text-based literacy. In countries with a demographic such as PNG, text-heavy communication creates a barrier across society that impedes progress. The ultimate objective for implementing visual learning in Papua New Guinea is to raise community awareness of key health issues, expand and enhance participation in education, increase community awareness and consultation, and provide an understanding of business processes that inspires community members to embrace trade opportunities. Text-based communication will only go part of the way to achieving the desired aspirations in these crucial areas. We're aiming to use visual learning to help bridge the divide that excludes the community from knowledge and opportunity. The overall benefit to Papua New Guinea is that increasing visual learning will decrease the time taken to reach community aspirations in the key areas of health, education, community consultation and business development. We have a dedicated and passionate team ready to start implementing this process. Speaking of the team, I'll finish up with a brief overview of who we are. Although we didn't know it, the Papua New Guinea Visual Learning Centre started in 1967. This was when Maini was born in Morobe and I was born in Tasmania. We obviously had very different experiences with education, but there are some similarities as well. We both found out very early on that we're visual learners. This is something that would influence our careers and stir a passion for visual learning further down the track. We didn't meet until 1992, where we both studied design courses at Swinburne University in Melbourne. As ideas were exchanged and passions evolved, we recognised just how much we had in common. A strong friendship formed that would span a quarter of a century. The result of this friendship and a commitment to help people in PNG has led us to form the Papua New Guinea Visual Learning Centre in 2015. A little bit about Maini. He comes from an extensive background of design, communications and consultation. He's initiated and implemented community-based projects showcasing Papua New Guinea culture throughout the world. He's an expert on community consultation and is experienced in all aspects of data collection and research design. He has an intricate knowledge of local visual production and combines this with the visual learning techniques we use within the Visual Learning Centre. As for myself, I've developed hundreds of interactive educational programs for use around the world. In addition to production, I have a whole lot of experience delivering academic programs in universities globally. I was an adjunct professor at Swinburne University and a visiting professor to St. Joseph's University in Macau, China. My experience in both the design and delivery of educational programs allows me to research and develop the visual learning processes we use in the Visual Learning Centres. We're both directors of the Visual Learning Centre in Papua New Guinea. We collaborate with a bunch of fantastic people who provide the information needed to produce visual learning resources for our members. The most important people in the process are the professionals who act as the visual learning advocates and use their skill and influence to inspire the broader community. Their dedication and professionalism is the foundation for visual learning centres. Mani runs the Papua New Guinea team that provides local training and the localisation of visual content. I run the international development team that provides design, animation, illustration, writing, research, and just about everything else required to make the Visual Learning Centre function. Please let either Mani or myself know if you have any questions at all. I really appreciate you taking the time to view this presentation. I hope I've provided an insight into our strategy to support Papua New Guinea using visual learning. Thank you.